Right here.
Yeah, so I'm just curious if the events in Syria are in any way influencing events in Turkey at this time, given that there's a substantial border between two countries and a history with the Kurdish issue.
I can respond in a way. It's very indirect, I would say. I mean, it's not related. It's this things going on in Turkey, like to me as a Turkish citizen at least, it's unrelated with the Arab Spring that you observed, or like things going on in Syria. I mean, I am not very knowledgeable about things going in Syria anyways, in detail, but this is something spontaneous that occurred in Turkey. So Turkey has been getting polarized since maybe like 50s. Like first it started during like Soviet supporters versus US supporters. Then it became like religious leftists, rightists, religious people, like or non-religious people. Then Kurds, Armenians, Turkish. Always some polarization. Even there was polarization between soccer team fans. But now all they gathered together against the government because now people want their freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of do things, keep their space, keep their Gezi park, keep their alcohol, anything. Like so, this is something independent. Turkey supposed to be a democracy. Even the prime minister claims that it's an advanced democracy. What is the advanced democracy? I mean, democracy is democracy, right? There is nothing called advanced democracy. But this guy says, I'm bringing advanced democracy, but now he's pushing, and he pushed to the limit. Gezi Park is the trigger, but there are many concerns. For example, I don't know if you heard, like, there is something called in Turkey called pregnancy tracking system. You know, Turkey is most of the population is Muslim, and there are still some honor killings, which women are killed by their families if they get pregnant from someone they don't want to, or like before they get married. Now this pregnancy tracking system introduced by Ministry of Health, they send text messages to people's families. Your daughter is pregnant, you see that, and then you tell them to kill her. So those kind of things are going. Or a divorced woman gets a phone call asking from their like a primary health provider saying that if you are pregnant. Or about nature, like do you know like many hydroelectric power plants are being built in even very small creeks. It changes the nature a lot in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in Gezi Park it was about only 10 trees, and as Cihan or Antoine, I don't know, I think Antoine said, they are even cutting more trees for the third bridge. Like there is a place called Atatürk Orman Çiftliği in Ankara. They are cutting more trees for that in Ankara. But Gezi Park was the trigger, and now it's populating. I wouldn't say it's related to Syria, but maybe Syria is an example of power of people, I would say. Nothing else really. I don't know.
I also want to make another point.
Your name?
So,
My name is Osman. Osman Artura.
Osman. Thank
It's
you.
that, I'm sorry, your name again?
Cihan.
Jihan here mentioned how there was a big coup in 1980. And this is something that marked a whole generation of Turks, where a lot of people were killed, a lot of people disappeared under the military. And I think the generation of Turks who are in their 20s, 30s, were referred as apolitical by a lot of people. They just decided never to get into politics because their parents were afraid of what would happen to them if they went in the streets. And for me, in a democracy, if you have people out there talking, listening, caring about the issues, that's a great democracy. But for years in Turkey, nobody ever spoke up. Journalists would go to jail, and I think youth were afraid of speaking up. And now, all of a sudden, you have thousands of people in the streets come in, talking, wanting to have a dialogue about things. And for me, if I'm the government, I say this is fantastic. People care. People actually care about the country, what's happening. But unfortunately, when they come out with tear gas, when they come out with violence, what happens is now a lot of the mothers, a lot of the young kids, a lot of the older people are afraid to join the protests. So now it becomes just young men, a few young women, and it kind of marginalizes, you only hear one side of the population. So I really wish they could allow these peaceful protests so everybody could participate. My fiance is in Ankara right now, and she says, she was talking about how it was everybody. The first day of protest, old ladies, you know, little boys, there were people, you know, from 6 to like 85, and, you know, from everybody, all social classes. And then, all of a sudden something hits her foot. She looks down and it's a tear gas canister, like up here. White smoke going everywhere. Riot police, everybody running away, running into each other, blood on the streets. After a while, the old ladies and the kids don't come anymore. And you only get a certain side. So I think that's the idea, is if you want a real democracy, you want people talking, and unfortunately they're trying to prevent it. And then the people that left, they call them looters, they call them terrorists, they call them, the marginalized. And so it's an us versus them instead of an us. So that's the point I wanted to make.
Excellent.